motion. We have Councillor Turner having submitted a notice of motion in relation to freedom camping. So Councillor Turner, I assume, is going to move the motion. And do I have a seconder for the motion? Paul Lonsdale. So Councillor Turner, perhaps you'd like to speak to your motion.
Thank you. As someone who doesn't believe in over-regulation of anything, I'm only bringing this to the table today because I feel there is a need for us to do something. And in my world, this is all about balancing the regulation of perhaps the more undesirable, or the controlling perhaps of the more undesirable aspects of freedom camping with another function allowing freedom camping where it is appropriate and where there would be no objection to it from our residents. Now, I came back from holidays to a reasonably large amount of correspondence from community members, mainly across the peninsula, and in a number of locations across the Banks Peninsula as well. So in the Akaroa Township, particularly around the Akaroa boat ramp area, where there have been some reasonably serious conflicts between legitimate users of the boat ramp who are, of course, wanting access and wanting to park their vehicles while their boats are in the water. That was quite widely publicised in the media, in fact. And other aspects around inappropriate parking on the waterfront in Akaroa by freedom campers and camper vans, which created road safety and traffic issues as well. So there's certainly two areas in Akaroa where there have been an issue, but also other areas in the peninsula where we've seen aspects of what I would consider to be inappropriate and quite possibly disrespectful freedom camping in Robinson's Bay, at Devotials. In fact, at Devotials there have been freedom campers parking directly outside the camping ground and then using the campground's facilities, while obviously freedom camping and paying no fees for doing so. River is another area where I had concerned residents came to me. Again, there's one particular area there where there's been a consistent problem, and in Corsair Bay, where freedom camping was giving rise to complaints from residents as well. And there's quite a big difference here, without wanting to go into too many details, there's quite a big difference here between a van which has got facilities on board, discreetly parked, away from people's homes, away from the main roadway, where it's not causing any safety issues, where there's no litter bin left behind, where the van's self-contained. And what we saw in Robinson's Bay, for example, in an area where there are no public toilets, where there are vans being parked there with no facilities on board, and you can imagine the potential for the kind of thing that gets left behind in that situation. And in fact, I was forwarded a photograph from an Akaroa resident where it was quite a graphic photo, and it was pretty obvious what had been left on the ground behind where freedom campers had been with no facilities the night before. And as if that wasn't bad enough, when I zoomed out of the photo, what was in the background was the Akaroa Lighthouse. So that's the kind of unpleasant behaviour by irresponsible freedom campers that we don't want to be seeing, we certainly don't want to be subjecting our residents to, and where there is clearly a need for us to look at what we can do to begin to control or regulate this. So you'll notice I framed the motion quite widely. In particular, I didn't mention the word bylaw because I'm not wanting to preempt the work that staff might do on this and the type of report they might, the type of recommendations they might bring back to us in a report. I'm also aware that there was some work done on this in 2010-2011 in anticipation of problems that we thought the Rugby World Cup might bring us. Of course, there were earthquakes in the meantime, and priorities and things have changed since then. We're obviously now at a stage where tourism is problem is becoming prevalent, and I think the time's right for us to be getting staff to bring a report to us so that we can consider the appropriate course of action so that we can solve this problem before next summer. So I'd appreciate your support of the motion today.
Are there any other comments? Pauline Cotter?
Thank you, and I'm generally supportive of Andrew's comments there. And there was work done on previous bylaws. Other councillors might know more than I do, but I believe it was just solved or approached by means of and if I'm correct there, it was Sumner and I think Cramner Square. And my question is difficult because times changed, but do we have any data view to perhaps signage might be a way to address this issue of Andrews.
Yanni?
If you think of the central city and of Sumner, which were problem spots prior to the earthquake, obviously the earthquake had such a huge impact on roads and access that it is really pretty much impossible to tell. But what I can say is staff have done a lot of work on this. At a national level, there's been freedom camping forums set up. We should be seeking advice from our tourism operator as well, our tourism holdings company, CCT, Canterbury Tourism Marketing. So there's a lot of work that's already been done in this space. I think it is really timely that we do get this information coming back to look at what the options are. It'll be slightly difficult because of what's happened with the earthquake, but actually there might be new issues that have arisen because of the earthquake that we now know about. It is complicated by the fact that in some areas it's actually Crown land, not council land, and also possibly ECAN. So depending on where the locations are, there might be sites.
All right. Ellie Jones?
Just very quickly too, I wonder if there's a responsibility on behalf of the renting out the vehicles without facilities in them to perhaps, I don't know, have some written material or inform visitors that, you know, Yep. That's it.
I think that the resolution's wide enough to cover, you know, the staff doing that, and I'm sure that, I mean, we don't need to tell them that they should review what's already been done so that we're not doubling up and updating, obviously, with the issues around the earthquake. So I'll put the resolution. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. It's carried. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is